Whenever and wherever people travel, they sample the local foods, walk the streets, visit the museums, and invariably they marvel at the most breathtaking structures of all, some of which are hundreds of years old. And that's only fitting if you think about it, because these cathedrals are essentially a testament to man's ingenuity. If you were really jet-lagged, the sight of this cathedral might confuse you into thinking you've just crossed over the Rhone or the Seine instead of the Ohio or the Allegheny. But this isn't Germany or France. It's Western Pennsylvania. And the Cathedral of Learning happens to be Pittsburgh's most visible landmark. The 535-foot-high cathedral stands on the University of Pittsburgh's main campus and is the Western Hemisphere's tallest educational building. Forget its European Renaissance look. It actually functions as a modern skyscraper. But the cathedral isn't just another Gothic pretty face. It's as beautiful on the inside as it is outside, with a half-acre ground-floor commons room where students gladly study, hang out, or maybe just drink in the atmosphere. Mark Nordenberg is the university's 17th chancellor.
If you were to walk through this building, you would see classrooms, you'd see offices. There are schools and departments that are headquartered here. My office is right here on this floor.
It should be up the top, Chancellor, because you can keep an eye on everybody. Yeah, wait a second, what's going on there?
What further distinguishes the cathedral and gives the university a cosmopolitan flavor are the rooms that circle the commons room. They're called Nationality rooms, though they might as well be called international rooms because they represent various countries.
When you study in an atmosphere like this, somehow it becomes more important than in a Quonset hut.
I think it does give you the sense that somebody thought important things were going to be done here, and maybe you ought to get at it.
That's a good point.
In Paris, the Cathedral of Notre Dame was built in the 12th century. The Cathedral of Learning is considerably younger, having been the 1921 brainchild of John Gabbert Bowman, the university's 10th chancellor. Like all cathedral builders, he wanted this one to reach for the heavens. Like all skyscraper builders, he wanted to conserve ground space. Dr. Bowman set aside a 14-acre plot of university property and hired Charles Zeller Clauder, who was considered one of the era's greatest architects of the Gothic style. Now all the chancellor needed was money to build his dream. To get that $10 million, Bowman launched a very public and very successful fundraising campaign across Pittsburgh. People and businesses contributed all they could, including nearly 100,000 of the city's youngest citizens, who offered their hard-won dimes that bought bricks and entitled them to be known as charter builders. One of these young citizens was Alice Sapienza Donnelly, who was 7 when she bought her brick.
What happened is, in 1926 and 27, we were told to bring dimes to school to help buy a stone to build the Cathedral of Learning. When I brought my dime, I would finger it and try to decide whether I wanted to spend it on penny candy or buy the brick. Well, the brick won.
Ground was broken in 1926, heady times in America, and especially for the Pittsburgh steel industry. The building was constructed of steel overlaid with Indiana limestone. New York's Joseph Gattoni designed the stonework, and local stonemasons did all the carving, mortaring, arching, and fretting. The cathedral hosted its first class in 1931, and 6 years later, Chancellor Bowman laid the cornerstone in the Commons Room at the building's official dedication. Stay tuned to reach the Western Hemisphere's pinnacle of education, the Cathedral of Learning. Welcome back to the Cathedral of Learning, where Gothic meets modern. Chancellor Bowman wanted his cathedral to be authentically Gothic in every detail. Limestone walls met slate floors that lie 60 feet beneath arched ceilings. By the way, one of the authentic touches is that the arches are self-supporting. Park Rankin is the university architect.
And there's a special brick material that's infilling those, which is an acoustic brick. It's sound absorbent. So that is laid in basically within the wood forms until you start getting your keystone pieces in. And once that's removed, gravity starts pushing it down to a point.
Sure.
Everything kind of still has a tendency to move forward, but hits a point where it can't move and forms a structural integrity to the vault itself.
Some of the awe-inspiring features are an 18-foot gate, numerous chandeliers, and intricate ironwork, all of which were designed and crafted by master blacksmith Samuel Yellin.
Yellin ironwork forms all the lanterns. And about 3 years ago, we redid all the lamping. We included these uplight that hit the upper architectural features and increased the downlights. The cathedral, as you see, serves as kind of a grand study hall for a lot of the students.
You think
they're very
how
respectful.
lucky they are?
They like it.
The cathedral's nationality rooms were funded, designed, and built by the various immigrant communities who made Pittsburgh such an American success story. Maxine Bruns has spent 4 decades administering these rooms.
At the groundbreaking for this tower, the chancellor realized the city was built by immigrant labor, and he thought they needed a place in this building. So he told my predecessor in 1926 to go to the communities and see if they would like to have a room in which they could put the good things they brought to America.
How many rooms do you have?
26. We have, beginning with Africa, Austria, Armenia, going all the way through to Syria, Lebanon, Yugoslav.
You have Poland?
Yes, of course.
Hungary?
Yes, of course.
Each room is intended to faithfully replicate aspects of a particular culture, reminding nearly 30,000 non-student visitors a year of how immigrants have left their mark on America and how America has left its mark on them, with everyone benefiting. Meanwhile, 12,000 Pitt students come here to study everything from the lingua franca to la belle langue. The upper floors are just as lovingly Gothic as the ground floor. Both offices and classrooms have been adorned with iron, wood, and slate touches that keep the architecture consistent from top to bottom. 36 of the 42 floors are dedicated to learning. The remainder house about 4,000 miles of wiring and hundreds of pieces of mechanical equipment for air conditioning and elevators. Pittsburgh is so clean now that the golden era of the area's steel industry, when success was reflected in the city's air quality, is but a distant memory. Back then, any coal from the 24/7 furnaces that didn't end up in the lungs could be seen clinging to the buildings in the form of soot. So in 2007, the tower got an overdue cleaning and restoration that required 40 workers, tons of equipment, in several months.
This is a pretty good example of some of the cleaning that was done. A lot of the building was pre-washed, soaked for about 24 hours with water that did a lot of the loosening and cleaning of the grime and the material that was on the building. And then we staged on the various roofs these blasting units that used this high microabrasive. It's a very fine powder that's made of recyclable glass. And that was used as our cleaning compound to clean the exterior.
Anything that hinders progress on a job is usually seen as a pain in the rear, but everyone happily worked around the cathedral's resident Peregrine Falcons, Erie and Dorothy.
Good spot for them.
Great spot. They love it up here. It's kind of their lift. Not to disturb their habitat and their breeding, we had to start from the bottom up versus the top down.
During the cleaning, not all sides of the building required the same amount of elbow grease.
Depending on the orientation of the building, those areas facing more toward windward had a tendency to self-clean. Lower floors were much dirtier. The south and the east were extremely soiled.
There's something about being on a college campus that's downright inspiring. Beautiful buildings, young people carrying books, impromptu discussions about ideas themselves. Well, they all stirred a long-ago graduate to remember his glory days as a student.